Good morning, everybody. I hope all is well. Monday morning, a new week, a new opportunity this week to just to be a child of God, to revel in His provision, however we perceive that. Um, you know, woke up this morning with the idea of recognizing that my God is a provider. And when we think about the idea of provision, I think we think about being given things that we need. I think in the positive, so I think when we think of God being a provider, we think of certainly, and it's true, air to breathe, water to drink, food to eat, clothing to cover our bodies. Luke 12, Jesus said, your Father knows what you need. Stop worrying about your life, what you'll wear, what you'll eat. Look around you at God's creation and how He provides for each. He provides sun, He provides rain, He provided the soil in which the seed drops, the seed that drops into the soil. The life that's in the seed, though the seed be dead, there's life in it that brings life and fruit and all the things that come. We think about the provision of just the people around us who He's provided to be friends and family and confidants. God is a provider. He's sovereign. He's king. He rules over all things. His ruling is good because He is good, and so His nature being good, He has made a creation that He Himself calls good, very good. Though it's tainted by sin, it's broken and it's cracked. Still within this broken place is the remnant of God's goodness. It's the expression of His glory. In spite of the sin, in spite of it, we see Him in it. A passage I at least allude to regularly is it's in what's been made we see God's invisible qualities, the power of God, the creativity of God, the incredible imagination of God, the artistry of God, the sense of humor of God. Well, I think there's something else that we don't recognize sometimes as God as being provider, is He provides opportunity. Now, He's certainly not the purveyor of bad. He does not tempt us, neither does He tempt us to sin. James says that God can neither be tempted nor does He tempt. And so He never tempts us to evil, but He certainly permits it. And in permitting it, what He's doing is essentially providing an opportunity. But my question is, do we see the opportunity? Do we see God's hand in the context of our circumstances, good or bad, that is actually a provision of opportunity, an opportunity to be strengthened, to grow in wisdom, to grow in strength, to grow in stamina, to grow in character, to exercise. We talked recently about exercising the fruit of the Spirit, that when I exercise, I don't have to make muscles, tape them to my arms, and hope that then they take hold. And no, I have muscles. The issue is whether or not I will exert the effort, will apply the discipline to strengthening those muscles, to stretching those muscles, right? Well, I have to take opportunity to do that. So as I prayed and contemplated, I had somebody say to me yesterday that people are really struggling. And I know that, listen, I know they are. But to hear this from this person caused me to really be pensive this morning. That although the struggle has been there, this last week, for whatever reason, seems to have been particularly difficult for many, many, many. So as I looked at the scriptures and I thought to myself, okay, Father, how do we convert this very difficult time to opportunity and then take advantage of the opportunity? What do we do? Where do we go? And I was led to two passages. One's in Matthew 11. And it's a well-known passage, but I think it's worth looking at. Matthew 11, starting at verse 25, it says, Jesus said at that time, now He's just come through some difficulty in some communities where he was not received, and the Jews were opposing him, and they were accusing him of things. And so he turns to his father and he says, I praise you, Father, Lord in heaven and earth, because you've hidden these things. You've hidden the things of the kingdom from the wise and the learned, from those who think they know, those who think they've arrived, those who think they have all the answers, those who don't need to learn anymore, those who have already grown in stature in their own eyes, have grown in such a way that they need not what it is that God is offering through Christ. As I pray of heaven and earth, because you have hidden these things from the wise and the learned, but you've revealed them to little children, those who are ready to receive, those who recognize their need, those who will turn and almost unconsciously place their trust in the one who they know loves them. So you revealed the things of the kingdom to children. Yes, Father, for this was your good. You take pleasure in this. He goes on to say, all things have been committed to me by my Father. He's put all things in my hand. No one knows the Son except the Father. And no one knows the Father except the Son, and those to whom the Son chooses to reveal him. Those whose hearts are prepared to see the Father, children, to see the stuff of the kingdom, to see the hand of God, to sense and receive the heart of God, the love of God. Jesus is here. I'll go back to Romans. All of creation cries out, according to the psalmist, without words, to the glory of God. Romans says God's invisible qualities can be seen in what's been made. In a general sense, God is continually speaking to us, calling out to us, revealing himself to us. But who will receive it? Who will receive it? Children. Those who are not so wise and not so learned that they know it all and they have all the answers, and they can't see beyond their own selves. So Jesus says, I'll reveal the Father to anybody who will receive it. So then he calls out, he says, now, that being said, come to me. All you who are weary and burdened, all you who are just tired and laden and bedraggled and frayed at the edges, all of you who are beginning to crack under the stress, all of you who up to this point have been trying to do it on your own. All who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. He says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart. I will be kind to you, for I am gentle and humble in heart. And listen to this. And when you do that, you'll find rest for your souls. All that stuff you're feeling right now, all the bedraggledness and the frayed edges and the exhaustion and the burdens and the heavy weight, I will lift from you. So I want to do something real quick. We have a tendency to focus on our exhaustion, to focus on our being tired, to focus on the burdens we're carrying. And Jesus knows this. So that's why he calls out. He says, come to me. Come here. You, come here. Drag that thing over here. Do that. Drag your yoke to me. Let me give you rest. So maybe one of the things he's trying to say is, first and foremost, is listen, I know you're weary, and I know you're burdened. I know how hard you're trying, and I know you're so frustrated and you feel like you're falling short. So I'm going to call you to me. So the first thing he's asking us to do is, in carrying the burden and being downcast, he's causing us to raise up our eyes to look to him. That our focus needs to go from this heavy weight, this yoke of oppression that is on me, and turn to him and then focus on him. The next thing he's asking us to do is to realize this, that burden you feel right now, if you'll come to me, I promise you I'll relieve you of it. I'll give you rest. So then he calls out and he says, now, take my yoke upon you. Well, what does that mean? First of all, know that the maker of you, the creator, the sustainer of life, the giver of life, he has a yoke. And that yoke is freedom. Freedom from sin, freedom from the fear of death, freedom from condemnation, freedom. So in being free, Jesus says, I will give you rest for your souls. You don't have to be concerned about these any longer. So the opportunity given to us is this. We're weary and burdened. We're exhausted. We're bedraggled. We're fragile. We're cracking under the pressure. How is this an opportunity? Well, it's forcing us to admit that I can't carry this yoke anymore. I can't drag this thing around anymore. And so what it does is it puts me in a position to do what? To hear the voice of God, to turn to him and go, man, I need some rest. And the rest is not merely putting my yoke down. The rest is then placing the yoke of Jesus on myself. That he joins me in the yoke. And what is that? That he has done all the work. Now, I want to finish with something here. And it comes from 2 Corinthians 12. And this is Paul speaking. Paul is speaking about some visions that he's had and that he has the right to boast, but he is choosing not to. And he goes in verse 7, he says, to keep me from becoming conceited, because of these surpassingly great revelations, there has been given me a thorn in the flesh. Pain, suffering. This is, he says, a messenger from Satan to torment me. Now, he says, 3 times I pleaded with the Lord to take it away from me. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in your weakness. Now, I want to be careful because most of us are not Paul's position, where we know so great, we have such a great knowledge of the mysteries of heaven that we can actually become conceited because of it. But I do think that the principle we pull out of here, so, for us to have this tormentor, this thorn in the flesh, for the purpose for which Paul is speaking, most of us are not going to suffer with that. But the principle remains. And the principle is this, that there will be suffering in this world, and there will be trouble in this world, and there'll be things that God will allow to come upon me. He'll give permission for that to happen. What I need to recognize is the same thing Paul did, that this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for me to see my weakness. This is an opportunity for me to lean into God's grace. This is an opportunity for me to recognize that the only thing I need is the grace of God, and the life that I receive in Christ through the grace of God, by the grace of God. And that no matter what else is happening, that is sufficient. He goes on to say this. He says, my grace is sufficient for you. Listen to this, for my power is made perfect in weakness. If you continue to be so self-sufficient and think that you're so strong and so wise and so learned that you refuse to recognize your need for me, my power cannot be displayed in you. But in your weakness, in your burdensomeness, in your bedraggledness, you come to me and you recognize your need to put that yoke down and lean into me and take my yoke upon you, that you will allow my power to work in you in ways and through you in ways that you never imagined before. And in fact, my power will be best displayed in your recognition that you can't carry this anymore, that your flesh is not strong enough, and that my grace, says God, is sufficient for you. So he goes on to say, my grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in your weakness. So I'm not going to remove what it is you're suffering. I'm not going to remove. Listen to this. Therefore, I will boast. This is Paul speaking now. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly. Listen, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses. I delight in insults. I delight in hardships, in persecutions, and in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Each one of us today will deal with fatigue. We will deal with bedraggledness. We will deal with seemingly cracking under the stress. And God is saying, listen, I get it. So come to me. Take your eyes off the burden and place them on me. Take that yoke of fear and that yoke of self-sufficiency and that yoke of anxiety. Take that off and put my yoke on you, and I will give you rest for your souls. And then understand this. I may not remove the circumstance. Why? Because I want you to lean into me. Because as you are weak, my power is displayed in you. My glory is manifest in you. As you are weak, as you suffer hardships, you will become strong, because I am strong in you. And you'll stop relying on yourself, and you'll recognize that it is only with me, through me, by me, that the kingdom will move forward. But here's the last thing: that God's power is made perfect in my weakness. His glory is most seen in my weakness. And that his wonderful, incredible grace, his love for me, his mercy toward me, his life in me is sufficient, regardless of what I have or don't have, regardless of what transpires around me. His grace is sufficient. Knowing I am his child is enough. And now I can walk with joy, with a soul at rest, at peace, in line with a perfect God who loves me so well, in such a good way, and that now his power can be expressed in my weakness. So may I delight today. May I be glad today for my weakness. May I delight in insults and hardships. May I delight in persecutions and difficulties. For when I am weak, tired, heavy laden, when he calls, come to me, I will see. First, his grace is sufficient, and second, his power is made manifest. His power is made perfect in my weakness. May we be weak today that he might be strong. May we delight in every opportunity. Have a wonderful day, guys. Love you much.